What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Bet Daily, October 16th, 2022, NFL week number, is it 5 already? 6? Something crazy like that? I think it's week 5. 6. Whew, how is it already week 6? That's nuts. We had an absolutely crazy day in college football yesterday. If today's NFL slate is anything like yesterday's college football slate, hold on to your hats, man. Amazing game. We were talking about this a little bit before. Amazing game. Alabama, Tennessee comes right down to the wire. Missed field goal, made field goal. You got a 2-point conversion that decides it in Utah. The Oklahoma State TCU game where TCU comes all the way back from down 2 touchdowns. They look like they were left for dead in the first half. Phenomenal day. Syracuse gets the job done, still undefeated. A phenomenal day of college football, Papa Dude. What's your major takeaway?
Oh, man. I just, Aaron and I went to Oklahoma, which we got to win, which was huge. And we listened to the Alabama-Tennessee game all the way home. It was, even on the radio, it was phenomenal. And the Alabama announcers are pretty good, and they were describing everything. I would have given anything to see that. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, my gosh, what else can you say? But we were talking before the show. The more I listened to Nick Saban, the better I like him. I felt like he was anointed as the greatest college football coach way too soon. I have a hard time just arguing it now. And what he said in his press conference was so good, I thought, because he basically just owned it. You can't have 17 penalties and win. You just can't. And then let these guys get behind you for, they made it easy on Tennessee to score. I mean, Tennessee didn't earn it. And then they asked him about the controversial pass interference call, and I loved his answer. He said, officials officiate, we play. And he goes, I'm biased. I didn't think it was a penalty. But he goes, that's a tough play to call. And he goes, we still should have won the game. And, and then he made the other comment too. He said, we missed the field goal, but there was 25 seconds left, something like that. And he goes, we let him throw the ball twice down the field. And he goes, you can't do that and win. And what a game that was just that crowd. My God, I've never seen anything like it. It was awesome.
Rocky Top is back. They haven't had a big game like that since Peyton Manning probably back then. It was at the Florida-Tennessee games in the 90s is the last time we saw anything that even rivaled that type of.
Yeah, they actually won the national championship the year after Peyton graduated, I think, or maybe 2 years after he did. But that was kind of an unexpected national championship. It's been a long time for them, and a lot of people don't remember how that place was. I mean, that they have been very good in the past. So what a win for them. And it's only started for them. They've still got a lot of games they got to win to get where they got to get.
You're going to see Hooker shoot up the Heisman odds now with that win as well. Bryce Young, it's going to be tough for him to repeat if Tennessee keeps playing the way they are, and Hooker ends up in New York as well here. Aaron, your dad summed it up very well. Crazy game there. The night game, we both stayed up and watched. We were texting back and forth about USC, Utah. Phenomenal game there in Provo.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, and it just a back and forth battle. USC moving the ball over the field, but end of the day, Utah scores 48 seconds left, and they go for 2 and get it. Cam Rising played a tremendous game, as did Caleb Williams for USC. It was awesome. I mean, just an awesome game. Still had time. Utah was able to stop them, hold them from getting a field goal or getting into field goal range even. So, yeah, I mean, another game, like you watch Utah, and it's like, how did they lose to Florida? Because at the same time, Florida is getting trashed by LSU.
Out by LSU, who's bad.
And it's like, I get it. Like, you lost on the road to UCLA. They're undefeated. They're pretty good. How did you lose to Florida? Because I think coming into that game, everybody thought, well, Utah's not that good. I think they're pretty good, and they were unfortunate to lose. It was a great game. Really happy for all the people in Knoxville yesterday. They had a blast. If you didn't see it, they tore down the goalposts. They took them to the bars, and then they threw them in the river late last night. There's video of that on Twitter. So really happy for Tennessee and those fans, because 1998 was the last time we're talking about Tennessee really being relevant.
I'm going to have to bring my piece of the goalpost to Wednesday's show. I don't know if you guys know Missouri's tradition. we beat who did we beat when I was there? It was Georgia. We beat Georgia when they were number 3. Oh no. We beat Nebraska when they were number 4 and 5 in the nation. When I was going to school there, you rip down the goalpost, you take them down to Main Street. All the bars bring out pitchers, and all the hardware stores bring out saws, and you get to keep the part that was your hand. So I still have a piece of a Missouri goalpost in my closet right now. So I have to bring that one out on Wednesday. One of the cooler college traditions I was ever a part of.
I live in Missouri and I don't know that. So that was really good. And another thing I want to mention real quick, again, this is an OU connection. Josh Heupel, the Tennessee coach, is one of the major reasons OU came back to what they are now. That's a long time ago. People don't remember that. What a quarterback he was. And I'm so happy for him because Tennessee was really criticized when they hired him. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if it'd work either. But, man, what a job he has done. It's just incredible.
So we're going to go from exceptional quarterback play to the NFL, where we've seen horrible quarterback play and coaching for the first 6 weeks or 5 weeks of the season so far. We got a big NFL Sunday today. Obviously, the big game here is going to be Bills-Chiefs. We'll get to that later. One of the best bets coming from that game. The board is absolutely lighting up right now. It's interesting to see Miami and Minnesota. Miami taking money to this morning, going from 3.5 to 3. So Minnesota dropping for a little more of a favorite. I thought it was a really tough game to handicap. Minnesota on the road. And obviously, this is your first full week of Skylar Thompson. Aaron, did you have any leans here in the Minnesota-Miami game?
You said it. It's tough because it really points to Minnesota. I'm not a Skylar Thompson fan. We watched him in college. Papa Dude and I watched him live and in person a couple times, and I never really thought he was an NFL quarterback. He was at K-State. They kind of ran the ball more than they threw it. So I lean towards the Vikings, but then you also have to always pause when you say that sentence because it's A, the Vikings, and it's B, Kirk Cousins on the road. I would stay away from it. I don't know what to do in that game. That's going to be an interesting one. The other thing is, like you said, they got a full week with Thompson. They got a great coach down there offensively in Miami. He might game plan well enough to keep it close or get a win. So it's a toss-up game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We've got the Packers coming back from London here today. That should be interesting facing the Jets. The Jets are catching 7.5 after upsetting the Dolphins at home. Green Bay goes down to the New York Giants last week in London. Now, Papa Dude, do you like them laying the 7.5 as kind of not a revenge game, but a get-right spot here against the Jets?
It's a lot of points. It really is. They haven't shown much offensively yet. But then, can the Jets – do they believe they can play with them? That's the deal. I don't know. Again, this is a game I would be afraid to bet it, I think. I could see it being kind of low scoring, maybe 20-13, half a point's kind of touchy in there a little bit. I think there's better games to bet. I think I would stay away with. We don't really know what Green Bay is yet. We don't know for sure. You would think they would come out with vengeance and go get them, but I don't know.
I took a little Jets 7.5. I agree with you on the under as well. I think the under might be the better part of that. So I played a little bit on both of those two. Coming back from London, I just don't think is a great spot for them. The other team coming back from London, Aaron, is facing Baltimore here. We've got a Lamar-led offense here. And the Lamar-led Ravens are 12-0 against NFC teams here. This is not a great spot for the Giants. They're catching 5.5 at home, though, on the way back. What do you like? What do you like here, if anything?
Yeah, we talked about this Thursday on our show, and it's just like the Ravens are better than 3-2. This team, talent-wise, has what it takes to be really, really good, to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league. They just never put it together. They should win this game today. 5.5 on the road. I get it. It's a lot of points. I think they're 5.5 better than the Giants. I took the Ravens in this game. The Giants, I get it, man. They're 4-1. They're much improved. They don't have much explosion on offense. I think the Ravens will be able to score enough to kind of keep this thing at bay and cover the spread. So I took the Ravens in this one. Don't feel great about it because anytime you say that sentence, I took the Ravens in this one, you're in for a day that's going to be wild. You're in for a day where most of the time you probably think you're going to cover, and then you have to sweat it out at the end.
I like the Ravens here as well. I decided to play their team total over 24.5 instead of playing them minus 5.5, simply because I'm afraid of some Ravens tomfoolery late in that game where they give up a couple touchdowns they probably shouldn't. I do think they jump out pretty good in the first half, though. But I thought the team total was a decent look there. In the horse racing world, we've got 2 turf sprints, one from Aqueduct, one from Belmont. We'll start out at Aqueduct, Aaron. I know your best bet almost came from this race, so I wanted to at least bring this one up. Scratch has really hindered the price here on a horse that I've bet the last 3 races out of the Christophe Clement barn. Tell us a little about Lady Edith here.
Yeah, it would have been the best bet today. She's 9-5 on the morning line, and I think you would have got around that. But 2 of the main contenders scratch out of it, so it's like, yeah, I don't want to give out a 2-5 shot here. Lady Edith, though, is getting class relief. Simply put, it's been up against some really tough runners. Caravel, a horse we might talk about here in a minute, it's running at Keeneland today in the tougher of the turf sprints. But she's been up against some tough ones. She always runs well. She's close every time. Now you look at this field and it's like, wow, there's nothing close to what she's been facing. I think she's a single. Unfortunately, I can't play her for the show here because I do think the price is going to be pretty short.
Yeah, and she's getting the top jockey now for the Clement barn as well. Rosario comes aboard. McCarthy's ridden her the last 3 times. Had a little trip trouble the first start there. Came back. I thought ran well in all 3 efforts. Just wasn't quite good enough to get to those horses. And that's a good way to transition into the Franklin, the grade 3 over at Keeneland, the feature today, going 5.5 furlongs over that Keeneland turf. And this is all about Twilight Gleaming coming back for the Wesley Ward barn, 7-2 on the morning line, but has some competition here. You mentioned Caravel, the 2-horse, the 8-horse Bout Time also going to be in this spot, who has a pretty big chance. Did you end up putting Twilight Gleaming on top, Aaron? You go somewhere else?
Yeah, I would Twilight Gleaming on top. Just kind of feels like this Wesley Ward runner is just simply put tough to beat. The one race she did lose back in April here. Horse snuck up on her, and I don't think she ever even saw that horse. And it was just one of those things. She lost. That happens in horse racing. We've seen that all the time. But yeah, Caravel's going to be tough. I think Twilight Gleaming is a little bit better than Caravel especially more consistent. Caravel, you just never really know what you're going to get out of her. Her best could definitely get it done today, though. We'll kind of see what happens there. I liked the number 1 Star Divine a little bit as a long shot to kind of play with those 2 favorites. I think that horse will come running in the end. You mentioned About Time, Cherie DeVoe, a trainer we use a lot. You and I, we're big fans of her. So I think you hit on the top 3. And then, like I said, Star Divine, I would put in the mix a little bit as well.
I think it's going to end up being a pretty straightforward race. I have Twilight Gleaming on top. I don't think you're getting 7-2. I think that horse is probably going off closer to 8-5, somewhere in that range. I don't trust Caravel. I'm just not. I actually was really high on this horse when she went to the Brad Cox barn. It just hasn't been that good. You would expect a big jump forward this year, and you just never saw it from her. So it's kind of frustrating not to see that jump that you were expecting. I do like About Time. Cherie DeVoe, you mentioned it. She's phenomenal, and she does not get the amount of credit she deserves or get bet the way she should. So that's something you can kind of take advantage of. I think About Time runs pretty big here. I'm going to go with the 6-8 exacta, play it cold, and see if we can get a decent number home here. Papa, did you look at the Franklin at all?
No.
I figured you probably didn't, but I thought I would ask. Since
It wasn't a grade 1. It wasn't a grade 1, Mike. It wasn't a grade 1. So this
I remember that. The grade 1s is Papa Dude's focus.
That's
here.
right. That's right. That's why I zero in on the big.
We should have him put a product together. Just grade 1 races. Papa Dude's grade 1 picks.
Well, let's see. There's not very many, so that wouldn't be much. I couldn't make much money.
That's true.
Check out the previews over at racingdudes.com for every stakes race if you want as well. That one is right here. It doesn't cost a damn thing. All right, let's talk about the best bets for the day. Magic's phone one in here. One that I don't agree with, but we're still going to give out here on the show. He's taking the Falcons plus 4.5. I understand the reasoning here. So you got San Francisco. They played in Carolina last week, back-to-back East Coast games. However, this is a crazy stat. I don't know if you guys know this one. They've done this 5 times the last 4 years. This is the 5th time. Each time they've stayed at the same hotel on the East Coast in between the games. And in the second game of these back-to-backs, they are 4-0 against the spread, 4-0 straight up, and they're covering by an average of 14 points against the spread. So they know what they're doing here. However, they are riddled with defensive injuries. You have Bosa out. You have Armstead out. You've got a top cornerback out. Another person in the secondary, all injured last week during the game at Carolina. So the question is, can they stop Atlanta's run game? We'll see. If they do, this is going to be a San Francisco victory. I actually bet San Francisco -4 this morning, so I'm on the other side of this. Aaron, you were shaking your head as well. Did you like the Falcons or the Niners here?
I mean, it's just one of those things. The Falcons have covered 5 straight weeks. I think they're the only team in the NFL that has done that. And so I look at that as a bad thing. I look at that and say, well, they're not. I mean, the law of average are going to catch up, right? And so I hate betting a team, even though they're getting points, that I think is clearly the worst team out of the two. I think San Francisco is just a better team. So No, I don't really like this, but that could be a good thing because I haven't been great in the NFL the last couple of weeks.
I think I'm going to have to defend him a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and let Magic just get roasted, although he didn't have the guts to come on. Right. He probably has something to do. But anyway, I didn't know that all the injuries to the 49ers. So I think Magic is playing that a lot. You lose that, the strength of the Niners is their defense. And that's a lot of guys out. So I think that's where he's going for sure. I did not know that. I mean, San Francisco is playing as well as anybody right now. So I see where everybody's coming out. Now that those injuries, well, I don't know. That's kind of scary on that.
Pitts will be back for Atlanta. No Patterson though, so you get your tight end back. Don't have your starting running back. However, Atlanta ran the ball exceptionally well last week without their starting running back. So if they can move the ball on the ground against this defensive line that's now very, very banged up, that's going to be the key for Atlanta. They need to shorten this game and try and put 14 up and see what you can do from there.
Exactly.
All right. We'll jump over to my best bet. I'm going to go to old reliable here in Tom Brady over 2.5 touchdown passes plus 150. Look, Tom Brady 3 touchdown passes against Pittsburgh doesn't sound normal, right? You'd expect it's going to be the exact opposite. Well, guess what? No Mika Fitzpatrick, no TJ Watt. Top 3 cornerbacks also out. So you have a decimated secondary for Pittsburgh. And you know who's healthy now? The wide receiver core from Tampa Bay. You're going to have Godwin. You're going to have Evans. You finally have your top 2 guys back against a secondary that's awful, an offense that's not going to be able to move the ball very well. I wouldn't be shocked if you see multiple interceptions for Pickett, which means short field for Brady. This game reminds me of the Thanksgiving Day game 2 years ago, I believe it was. Maybe it was last year, where they faced the Detroit Lions, and they put up 35 in the first half, and Brady had 4 passing touchdowns and almost 300 yards through the air. They are going to be able to do whatever they want on offense today. This is a big-time get-right spot for them against a very bad Pittsburgh team that we saw Buffalo just absolutely roast last week.
That last thing you said is the key. This is a bad Pittsburgh Steelers team. They're if not the worst, one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah.
And somehow the guy just keeps doing it. He just keeps playing fantastic. Yeah. They've got problems on that team. He ain't one of them. He just keeps every week. He's great. So yeah, I love the bet.
I'm surprised you're getting plus 150 on that. Really?
Well, the line is at 1.5. So you have to find the 2.5. Wow. So it's 1.5 minus 185. If you go and you find a 2.5, which you can find on most prop machines, if you go to them, you can get plus 150. One place had plus 170, but it's really obscure, so I didn't want to give that out.
Yeah,
but you can find plus 150 in multiple places, and I love Evans' touchdown today. I think he is definitely going to be one of the ones who gets into the end zone. You can find him plus 125 at a lot of places. I just like the plus 150 more. So I thought that this is one of those spots where I think Tampa puts out some points. I also bet under 17.5 for Pittsburgh total points in the game. I don't think they're going to be able to put up 17.5 against Tampa. The first half total is 7.5. I like the under there. I like Tampa minus 6 in the first half. The 10 gets a little wonky because I could see a scenario here where Tampa scores 24 points and just stops like they did last week. They ended up not covering against Atlanta. However, the Atlanta team total hit the under. So there are ways I could see that happening, and that's why you lean toward those team total unders versus laying the 10 in the full game.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Papa Dude here. Going to one of the 2 big games, the marquee games here. We're going to go to Sunday night. You've got the Cowboys. You've got the Eagles. And we get to talk about this one, Papa Dude, because I bet the Eagles minus 6. So give me the case for the Cowboys here.
Well, it's an interdivisional game, which normally is pretty closely contested. I like Dallas' defense a lot, and I like the Eagles' defense a lot. So I feel like when you got 2 defenses that are as good as these 2, you may have a low-scoring game. And when you have a low-scoring game, it's hard to cover 6.5 points. I'm looking at that angle of it, and I just feel like I almost took the under because it might be a low-scoring game. I think the Eagles are on the edge. They're living on the edge. I'm not there yet, and I want to be there because I love Hurts. I love him, and it's just amazing to me. He's now getting mentioned for the MVP, and everybody before the season was, this guy can't play. What the hell? And his statistics are unbelievable. They really are. I think Dallas is getting not the attention they deserve because of Rush at quarterback, and I think everybody's thinking he's going to collapse. And Mike, you may be one of them. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I just think that's a high number for interdivisional game with two teams that play really, really well defensively. So the Eagles might win this one. I just think that's too many points. So I'm going to go with Dallas plus 6.5. And the other thing I like about Dallas, in the past, they've been all flash. They win with high octane offense. They're flashy. This team's pretty blue collar right at the moment. I mean, they're not blowing anybody away. They're not making mistakes. They're playing really, really well. So I think this is going to be a great game tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be a blast. I agree with you that the Cowboys are playing phenomenal right now. I'm kind of leaning on the fact that I think their schedule has been pretty weak the last few weeks.
Sure.
And that this pass rush is being – Meek is hurt, so that kind of hurts them a little bit there. He's going to play, but not at 100%. And they've faced some pretty bad offensive lines. I mean, they've faced the Rams offensive line, Washington, the Giants, the Bengals the last 4 games. And so I'm hoping that this pass rush gets held down a little bit by Philly's offensive line, which I think is very good. And if so, then I think Philly's defense can hold the Cowboys down. I agree with you. The under, if you like the Cowboys defense at this spot, I think the under is a great play. Because I don't think they're going to be able to put up too many points with Cooper Rush and the gang on the offensive side. So if that defense can hold down Philly, then I think the under is a solid look.
Well, I will make an argument for the Dallas side. I think 6.5 is the key to the game as far as Dallas. I don't think Dallas is going to win this game, but they've given up 19, 17, 16, 10, and 10. If they hold the Eagles to those kind of numbers, let's just say they hold them to 20, they are going to be tough to not cover that spread, right? Like 20-17, would anybody be shocked if that's the score? That's kind of the thing. It's going to be a blast. You said it best, Somich. And the key will be, can they hold down the running game and the running ability of Hurts? If they do, they force Philly to throw, I think they've got a great shot to win.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We are spoiled today from an NFL perspective. Yeah. There are some pretty bad games, but there are some phenomenal games. The other one is really the marquee matchup here. This is Sunday night. This is kind of the dessert on top of the main course here, which is going to be the Bills and the Chiefs. Right now, the Bills laying 2.5. I wouldn't be shocked if it's 3 by kickoff, by the way that the money is starting to come in on Buffalo. The total sitting as the highest total we've seen so far, 54 for the over-under in this game, projecting a shootout. And Aaron, you're going to one of those quarterbacks who's going to be part of that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it is going to be a shootout type of game. Listen, you could go either one. 2.5 touchdown passes over for Allen or over for Mahomes. I really kind of debated which way to go. This is more of a play against the Kansas City defense more than it is. I think Allen is a better quarterback than Mahomes. This Kansas City defense is not good in the secondary. Not good at all. You got to think Allen's going to have a big day. And the difference in this game to me is going to be the defenses. I think the Bills defense will be able to contain Kansas City enough to get a win here. But as far as the bet, I think going over 2.5 touchdown passes for Allen makes a ton of sense. It's plus money, just like your Brady bet there, plus money for Allen. I almost just said, hey, let's do, I think it was over 6.5 combined between the two. Almost did that as well. The odds weren't that much better, though, for me to go that route. So I went with Josh Allen over 2.5. Like I said, it's more of a, hey, this Chiefs secondary, it ain't great. There's been quarterbacks that not as good as Mr. Allen that has been able to light them up. So it's going to be a great game. This is probably, well, I tell you what, that Dallas game will be good too. But this is probably the game of the year so far. Probably should be that 7:00 game, but it's going to be fun.
There's going to be a lot of liability in the same game parlays in this one because you're going to have a lot of people who have over 2.5 for both quarterbacks. Kelsey touchdown. You're going to have Diggs touchdown. Gabe Davis touchdown. You have McKenzie touchdown. I like the over 50 yards rushing for Josh Allen here. He runs in these type of big games. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets into the 60s or 70s from a rushing perspective since they don't really run the ball with anybody else. Papa Dude, what are your thoughts here? KC against Buffalo, huge game. Most likely will decide the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to mention. That's the significance of this game because Buffalo needs to get this game there instead of Kansas City because they've got a little bit of a problem in Kansas City. They've not been able to beat them when it's mattered. So this is humongous because I don't think there's any doubt this is going to play a big factor down the line before this is over. I've gone round and round on this. It is so hard for me to bet against Kansas City in Kansas City with Mahomes. You know, Buffalo had him last year and a miracle happened. I don't think we'll ever see that again, by the way. But anyhow, I think Buffalo's defense might be the difference. Their defense is really good. I think it's underrated. I really do because of Allen and everything. You would think they would be really motivated to come in here and wipe that out from last year, but it's so early in the season. I don't know whether they're going to play a big deal or not. I think we just sit back and enjoy. You open the show, or you said when we transferred to that's not the word, whatever. Anyway, when we went to the NFL, you go, quarterback problems. There ain't no quarterback problems in this game because this is number one and number two, however way you want to put it. And so I think we sit back and we just enjoy this. And then we get a little bit of a slugfest later on tonight. That's what I think is going to happen.
You definitely have two different styles of games that we're going to see in this 4:25 kickoff and the late Sunday night game. I played the Bills -2.5. This just feels like a game they have to have, and I think they're going to come out and play that way. You mentioned it, Papa Dude. They need the number one seed a lot more than Kansas City does. Buffalo does not want to come back to this house of horrors in the AFC title game again this year, and they want that bye. I think those are both very important for them. So I think Buffalo comes out with their hair on fire here, and I agree. I think the Buffalo defense is the difference here. Kansas City's secondary is awful. Buffalo's secondary is banged up, but they've played well the last 3 games. So at some point, you got to say, hey, you got to give credit to the people that are out there. If they're playing well, Geno Smith is the number 1 rated quarterback. You got to give credit to Geno Smith 5 weeks in because he's playing well. So this is one of those situations where it looks like that Buffalo secondary is going to be able to turn it around. Aaron, any games today we didn't touch on that you want to talk about?
Oh, man, we touched on a lot. That's a tough question. Let's see. The Browns, right? No, just kidding. I guess, you know what? I'll do something different. How about the baseball, right? Cleveland and the New York Yankees tonight. It's going to be really interesting after the Yankees blew that last night. The big favorites are going down other than Houston. The other 2 big favorites went down. It was a fun day in baseball that we haven't even talked about, but that game tonight in Cleveland, what a doubleheader it could be if the Browns could beat the Patriots and then the Guardians could beat the Yankees.
If the Guardians win today, we are left with what? The Guardians, the Astros are going to move on, and Phillies and the Padres.
Yeah.
The Padres completely exercising the demons against the Dodgers there in a series. I don't think I saw anybody picking them to win. The Phillies, I saw a couple people who like the Phillies against the Braves. So kudos to those people who got that plus money home. This could be a wild Final Four. The Astros are going to be heavy favorites if the Guardians do get the job done here against the Yankees today. Up 2-1, trying to close this thing out, Papa Dude.
How would you like to be Seattle? You shut Houston out for 17 innings, and you can't win. I mean, you got to be kicking yourself. And
in game 1, you gave up a 3-run walk-off.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could be up 2-1 in this thing really easily. And game 2 was in doubt the entire time. I mean, as someone who had the Astros, it took a late inning homer to get that job done.
Yeah, they were ahead most of the series.
Yeah, you could be up 2-1 with game 4 in your place.
Yep.
And, the other thing, we kind of touched on this the other day with the Dodgers. They clinched the division, 1st of July, they had the Division 1. How many times have you seen a team just coast through the rest of the year? They lose that edge. They lose it. Then you got a San Diego team that's pretty dang good, and they live in the Dodgers' shadow, but they're pretty good, and they had to earn it to get into the playoffs. They're ready to go. They get a little spark, and hey, that crowd is pretty fun to watch, isn't it?
That stadium's amazing. I don't know if you guys have ever been. We used to, when we lived in LA, we would drive down there and go to games. Awesome area to go to a baseball game because it's like literally built into the downtown, into the gaslight lamp district. So you got all these bars, all these restaurants around, and little tip of the trade here. If you go after the 6th inning, you just walk in. They don't even check your ticket. So Jen and I would go out, we'd get dinner. Game would start around 7:20. We'd have a couple cocktails and then just walk over and just walk straight into the stadium and go find
walk into the stadium. Nobody's there.
No one cares after the 6th now. Same thing at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. You can just walk right in after the 6th inning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that is amazing. That's
amazing. It was
amazing.
An absolute blast to have fun down there in San Diego. Great spot for that stadium. And it's actually built into the side of a warehouse, too. If you watch on TV, you can see that. The foul pole is actually the corner of a warehouse. You can sit outside on top of one of the bars right off the foul line as well. It's amazing. A really cool stadium. Highly recommend you go check that one out if you get some time.
San Diego's such a cool place, man. It really is.
Yeah. It's awesome. I love downtown San Diego. All right, let's jump into the best bets here. Wrap it up as we've had April. We got a pretty busy day going here. We got the Cowboys plus 6.5 for Papa Dude. Aaron taking Allen over 2.5 touchdown passes plus 114. Magic onto the Falcons plus 4.5. I'm going to take Brady over 2.5 touchdown passes plus 150 for the week. 4-11 down $477. The year's still up 827. That's a lot better a couple weeks ago. So we got to get this thing turned back around, get back into the positives here. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. We will see you again on Wednesday for a new week of Dudes Who Bet Daily. Good luck at the track. Good luck with football, and enjoy the games today. Should be an absolutely phenomenal football day.